Dear students, today we will study the embryology of the abdomen, and in the start we have to study the development of the diaphragm. As we know, diaphragm is a musculotendinous sheet and it is separating the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. So it mainly develops from the mesoderm. As we all know that in the third week of the intrauterine life, the septum transversum, which is the cranial most part in the embryonic disc, and because of the folding of the embryonic disc in the third week of the intrauterine life, a flat embryo now take the shape of the tubular form because of the craniocaudal as well as the lateral bending of the embryonic disc. So a flat pear-shaped embryonic disc now take the shape of the a tubular embryo, and because of this, so this is the embryonic disc. We know it is a pear-shaped structure made up of the three germ layers: ectoderm, endoderm, as well as the mesoderm. And this is the cranial end, and this is the caudal end. And in the cranial most part of this embryonic disc, there lies the mesodermal thickening, and this part of the disc is called the septum transversum. So, and in this disc there develops the intraembryonic coelom, that is the intraembryonic cavity, which is in the, this is the future embryo, but now at present it is in the form of the embryonic flat embryonic disc, having all three germ layers. So in this, a horseshoe shaped cavity develops. This is called the intraembryonic coelom, and the cranial most part of this cavity is the future pericardial cavity, while this cavity, which is large and laterally placed, is the future peritoneal cavity, and the connection between the pericardial and the future peritoneal cavity is called the pericardio-peritoneal canal. And the endoderm, because of the lateral bending and the anterior-posterior or caudal cranial bending, the endoderm get invaginated into the embryo and it forms a tubular structure which is called the primitive gut, whose anterior end is called the stomatodium, which is closed by the buccopharyngeal membrane, and the caudal part is called the proctodium, which is closed by the cloacal membrane. So this is the diagram showing the craniocaudal bending and the lateral bending. After this, the embryonic disc assumes this tubular form of the embryo, and this endoderm, which is also the hypoblast, now take a tubular form with the stomatodium, and the hind is called the proctodium with the cloacal membrane. So this tubular endoderm is now in the embryo, inside the embryo, and it is the primitive gut. And this is the septum transversum, which is the mesodermal thickening between ectoderm and the endoderm. Because of the bending, this was the cranial most, and behind it there was pericardial cavity. But because of the bending of this disc into the tubular form, the new position of the septum transversum is this, and this is the pericardial cavity. It lies cranial to the septum transversum. Previously, it was caudal to the septum transversum, and the buccopharyngeal or the foregut end is here. But because of the bending, we have to understand the position of the septum transversum, the pericardial cavity, the part of the intraembryonic coelom, and the foregut part of the primitive gut with the buccopharyngeal membrane or stomatodium. It assumes a new position. So while understanding the development of the GIT, we have to keep this diagram in our mind, that this is the endodermal tube, which is tucked in or it is invaginated inside the embryo because of the bending, lateral bending as well as the craniocaudal bending. While the tube is having three parts: foregut, the midgut, and the hindgut part. That we will take later on, but at present we are focusing our view in the development of the diaphragm. Now, as we know, after the development of the respiratory system, which we have done in the fourth week from the foregut diverticulum, and later on the pleural cavity from the pericardio-peritoneal canals develops, and the pleural cavity gets separated from the peritoneal cavity of the abdomen by the pleuroperitoneal folds, which later on closed by the pleuroperitoneal membranes. So that we have already done while doing the development of the lungs and the heart, that how the thoracic cavity is separated from the abdominal cavity. So now we focus on the development of the diaphragm after the development of the heart and the pleural cavity with the lungs. Now this is the ventral view of the embryo, that if we see the embryo from below, from here, so this is the ventral, this is the upper, the dorsal part of the embryo, this is the ventral part. So if we view the embryo from lower side or the inferior side or the ventral surface, so this is the diagram we are getting. So this is the head end and this is the caudal end or the tail end of the embryo, which now take the tubular form, and this is the stomatodium lies over here, and the primitive gut lies in the midline with the foregut, midgut, and the hindgut part, and the septum transversum is now here with the pericardial cavity, and these are laterally placed pericardio-peritoneal canals, and from this foregut there will be developing the lung bud, and it will grow in this pericardio-peritoneal canals, which later on will become the pleural cavities, and here the heart will develop in the pericardial cavity. And then after the development of the heart here, the pericardial cavity with the heart with the septum transversum will descend downward here as the lung develop laterally. So with the descent of the heart and pericardial cavity, and the septum transversum also descend along with this, now it will take a new position after the development. So this is the ventral view. So in order to understand the embryology, we have to take the three-dimensional picture of the embryo, that is the lateral view or the sagittal section, and then we have to take the ventral view of the embryo to keep in mind, and third is the sectional view, that if we cut this embryo anywhere transversely, this is the coronal section of this part. So the cranial part of the embryo, where lies the septum transversum, it will form the diaphragms. So as we all know that the septum transversum is mainly the mesodermal in origin, and it forms the take part in the diaphragm formation, and the central tendon of the diaphragm is mainly derived from the septum transversum, and it gets fused dorsally with the pleuroperitoneal membranes, and the dorsal part of the diaphragm, it develops from the mesoderm around the dorsal mesentery, which is supporting the esophagus, and they all form the right and the left crus of the diaphragm. The peripheral part of the diaphragm is derived from the somatopleuric component of the intraembryonic coelom. Hence, it will get the nerve supply from periphery side, that is from T7 to T11. So, in order to understand the development, we will cut the embryo at the level of the septum transversum. This is the coronal section of the embryo. So, when we cut the coronal section of the embryo, we will get this picture that this is the surface ectoderm, which is all around, and this is the septum transversum in the coronal section, and dorsally and posteriorly there is a pleuroperitoneal canals which is now closed after the development of the lung and the heart with the pleuroperitoneal septum or the membranes. And as we know, dorsally there lies the dorsal aorta along with the primitive gut, and the part which lies above the septum transversum is the foregut part, and from the foregut part the esophagus has developed, which that we have done in with the development of the lungs, and this is the inferior vena cava also develops meanwhile. So, and this is the dorsal mesentery which is hanging from the dorsal body wall, and the esophagus lies in this part. So, this is the mesoderm which lies in the periphery in touch with the ectoderm. So, this mesoderm is somatopleuric component of the mesoderm, while the mesoderm which lies in relation to the esophagus or the primitive gut is called the splanchnopleuric component of it. So, this is how we understand the coronal section of the developing diaphragm when we cut at the level of the septum transversum. So, this is the starting of the peritoneal cavity, and this is the pleural cavity. So, here develops the pleuroperitoneal septum, the canal which is closed by the membrane after the descent of the septum transversum along with the pericardial cavity. Now, the septum transversum, as we know, it is a mesodermal thickening, and it also lies near the developing nervous system. So, while the embryo is becoming tubular and the endoderm becomes a tubular form with foregut, midgut, and hindgut, at the same time, a aorta develops dorsally, which gives three branches. One is the celiac artery to the foregut, superior mesenteric artery to the midgut, and the inferior mesenteric artery to the hindgut part of the primitive gut. At the same time, dorsally from the surface ectoderm in vagination, there develops the nervous system in the form of the neural tube. So, this is the part having the tube over the tube, that below is the tubular endoderm with the future GIT is in the tubular form, and above this there is also lies a nervous tissue made up of tube, that is called the neural tube, and the brain is also developing with the spinal cord. So, at the level of the septum transversum, so nerves from the spinal cord, that is the C3, C4 and C5, they are supplying the mesoderm of the septum transversum. This C3, C4 and C5, they lie at the level of the developing diaphragm in the septum transversum and the developing spinal cord. So, this is the explains the nerve supply of the diaphragm is phrenic nerve, because the C2, C3 and C4, they are lying very close to the embryo in the primitive stage, and as in the later stages, when the diaphragm as the septum transversum will descend downward, these C2, C3 and C3, C4 and C5, which is the phrenic nerve root value, it also descend, and this is the point explaining that phrenic nerve is the nerve supply of the diaphragm. So, this is the embryological basis of the phrenic nerve, that it descend downward. So cervical level, the septum diaphragm, they also migrate. So, so this is the primitive form of the diaphragm. After the development is completed, the peripheral part of the diaphragm develops from the somatopleury component of the mesoderm. It forms the muscles and the ribs of the thoracic cavity. So this is the peripheral part of the diaphragm, which is taking origin from the sternum and the 7th, 8th, 9th, and the onward all ribs. So this is the peripheral origin of the diaphragm, which is also mesodermal, but it is supplied by the T7 to T12 nerves, which are close to them. So this peripheral part of the diaphragm will develop from the somatopleury component, while the central part, forming the central tendon of the diaphragm, is derived from the septum transversum, while the dorsal part of the diaphragm, which is around the esophagus, develops from the mesoderm, which are splachnopleury component, and dorsally there also develops here from the paraxial mesoderm, will give rise to the somoid formation. So vertebra will develop from here. So these muscle fibers, they are somatopleury component, and they give rise to the right and left crust of the diaphragm. So right and left crust of the diaphragm, they are also mesodermal in origin, while the esophagus lies around the dorsal mesentery, which is now absorbed around the dorsal side. So esophagus is surrounded by the esophageal opening, which is formed by the fibers from the right crust of the duct. So this is the, and this part, which is the dorsal part of the diaphragm, which is also laterally, this part develops from the pleuroperitoneal membranes. As we know, this part is the pleuroperitoneal membrane, which is septum. So this is also mesodermal in origin. So the muscle will develop from here, and this pleuroperitoneal septum or the membrane will be replaced by the muscle. So these are the muscles derived from the at the site of the peripheral part from the pleuroperitoneal membrane. So here also muscle of the diaphragm develops. So in this way, whole of the diaphragm develops as a muscular tendinous sheet around it. Now we'll go into the various anomalies related to the diaphragm in the developmental defects. So one is the hiatus hernia. So hiatus hernia, as we know, it is the lies near the esophageal opening, and if developmentally, if this opening remains large in size, then the stomach come into the thoracic cavity, and this is called the hiatus hernia. The stomach herniate into the thoracic cavity. Another developmental defect may lie at the near the foramen of the Morgagni. So during development, foramen Morgagni lies near the sternum and the 7th rib. So sometimes this gap remains without development of the muscle here. Then through this gap, any part of the lung may come into the thorax or into the abdomen, or from the abdomen anything can go. So this is called the hernia of the hiatus of Morgagni. Then there is a condition which is called the eventration of the diaphragm. So in eventration of the diaphragm is the muscular defect is present when some part of the muscle remains undeveloped here, especially in the pleuroperitoneal membrane, and any dome of the diaphragm becomes weak, and because of the weakness of the diaphragm, any part of the intestine may come into the thoracic cavity, and this type of the hernia is called the eventation of the diaphragm. It is mostly common finding in the newborn babies, and sometimes whole of the left dome of the diaphragm doesn't develop or fails to develop. So in this way, it is more common on the left side. So this part remains as a hole here, big hole is present, and through this big hole, coils of the jejunum and ileum may be herniated up into the thoracic cavity in the newborn babies. So this is the another type of the hernia because of the developmental defect in the muscular part of the dorsal part of the posterior lateral part of the diaphragm. Thank you.